Pokemon Legends ZA is here, and it has arrived on both Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2. It's been well publicized that you get increased resolution and frame rate playing on Switch 2, but I wanted to go a little deeper than that. First of all, are there any actual graphical improvements found in running the game on Switch 2 beyond resolution and frame rate bumps? And second, if you're still playing on Switch 1, does that system do a competent job of delivering the game, especially considering the recent history of the franchise on that console? Let's actually start with that Switch 1 version. If you're familiar with the technical makeup of the Pokemon releases on Switch, then the basic technical setup here shouldn't be too surprising. Both docked and handheld mode target 30 frames per second, but even within the opening few hours, I saw regular dips below this. The stutters seem to come during quick camera moves, which likely means a slightly slow dynamic resolution may be our culprit. The dynamic resolution generally sits at about 720p when docked, or about 540p in handheld mode. If you stay still for a moment, you may see it pop up to the high end of its resolution window, which seems to be 900p for docked mode and 720p for handheld mode. The image does not show any signs of effective anti-aliasing, so when combined with the low-detail flat assets used to build its urban environment, the shifting resolution stands out quite obviously. Distant NPCs animate at half rate, coming out to 15 frames per second, but I haven't seen anything quite as egregious as the 1/3 or 1/4 frame rates of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Perhaps the more distracting NPC issue is the constant asset swapping when moving through the city. Regularly, when running forward, you'll see an NPC not only appear, but disappear. I suspect what we're seeing here is a swap from generic background NPCs to the specific NPCs that are supposed to be in a scene. Though at other times I notice the same NPC disappear and quickly reappear as I walk towards them. The presence of those distant characters does make the city feel more alive, but the constant flickering in and out of existence can be somewhat distracting. It goes without saying that the environments themselves leave something to be desired, but I will say that the general overall aesthetic of the game, from art design to music, is generally pleasant. So if you've enjoyed Pokemon games on Switch up to this point, I don't think you'll be actively offended by what's presented here. Just go in with the proper expectations on recent Pokemon releases. Over on Switch 2, the story is significantly better, though clearly still subservient to the Switch version. The frame rate is boosted to 60 frames per second and was significantly more stable than the Switch version. Image quality presents a convincing 4K when docked and 1080p when handheld, seemingly upscaled via DLSS. Edges are also properly treated, creating a clean image. Textures, though still not terribly impressive, do receive a substantial boost on Switch 2. The low resolution and completely unfiltered shadows seen in the Switch 1 version don't appear to be any higher resolution on Switch 2, but they are properly filtered, giving them softer and more appealing edges. This also results in a more stable resolve when the camera is in motion. But perhaps my favorite graphical improvement is the addition of proper, real-time ambient occlusion. This adds pockets of shadowing to corners and other confined spaces. It creates a sense of depth that hugely benefits the low-poly environments Pokemon tends to employ. We can see it behind this ivy growing on the wall. Notice how the entire plant is no longer bright green, but displays proper light occlusion. Honestly, I think they could have gone stronger with the effect, but just seeing it finally be present is a nice boost to the presentation. The NPC draw issues are unfortunately still present on Switch 2. NPCs disappear and reappear at seemingly the same distances. However, the half-rate animations now run at 30 instead of 15, and seem less prevalent in general, or at least less obvious. Interestingly, we do see increased draw distances for other scene details that aren't NPCs. Things like trees, lampposts, and other details draw in significantly farther out, and are in general often hard to spot popping in at all on Switch 2. The Switch 2 version is a slightly more accomplished upgrade than that of Scarlet and Violet, likely due to it being in development alongside the base game. I do think it's a shame that neither the Switch or Switch 2 version really seem to show signs of taking advantage of their longer development time when compared to other recent Pokemon titles. At the same time, I will say that thus far, the game does feel more stable than Scarlet or Violet did at launch, and at this point I have yet to have the game crash on me in either platform. At the end of the day, if you plan to play on Switch 1 and weren't bothered by the performance in Scarlet or Violet, then I don't think you'll have much to worry about here. This isn't to say performance is especially good, but it is unfortunately in line with, or even slightly above, our most recent expectations for this series. Over on Switch 2, you do get a significantly improved experience, though the lingering design issues of the base version do show through awkwardly now and then. But that's all I've got for this initial technical look. If you enjoyed it, give it a like and consider subscribing to Nintendo World Report TV. You can find a whole lot more at nintendoworldreport.com, and you can chat with us about this or anything else Nintendo related in our Discord using the link in the description. My name's John Reardon, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. This video was made possible by our generous supporters on Patreon. Check out patreon.com/NWR for all the details.